Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Arena Football Statement. I've come as completely random as I can. There's nothing consistent about my show, but when something is awesome and something really intrigues me, then I just have to come back on and do an episode to talk about it. And today I have a very, very special guest, a guy I've been wanting to talk to for 4 years now, and I finally get the chance to talk to the commissioner of the Indoor Football League. Please welcome Mr. Todd Tryon. Thanks for being here, Todd.
Well, you bet, Duke Connors. You could tell the last 4 years, all you had to do was ask.
Well, I'm kind of a little pup, and you're the big dog, so I kind of hesitated.
No, never too big for you. Appreciate all you do for the industry.
Well, thank you, and thank you for what you do as well. If you don't mind, I'm going to go right into some of the questions here. I've often talked to a lot of my colleagues and friends about how I believe that the job of a commissioner is kind of a thankless job in a lot of ways. It's got to be very difficult to enforce rules and to be constantly blamed for not being fair. And why didn't this guy get slapped on the wrist when you slapped us on the wrist? And the scheduling and dealing with different member teams' budgets and stuff. During a season, could you walk us through a day in the life of the Indoor Football League Commission?
Well, the one thing I love about the job is every day is different. I mean, so it depends on what day you're asking, whether it's Friday, which is usually travel day, and you're sitting there holding your breath that, you don't have a bus issue or weather issue or canceled flight issue or anything like that. Mondays is you're cleaning up from the weekend. You're figuring out, you're going through your fine report and going through your officials report and, what issues did I have in what venue and Tuesday, Wednesday, you're still doing transactions and making sure everyone's following the compliance and keeping in touch with, the biggest thing in this industry is you got to communicate with your owners and your coaches and your officials and just make sure that everybody's on the same page, doing the right thing. And we're all rowing our boat in the same direction.
I guess communication would be the biggest part of your job then, correct?
It 100% is, because in this industry, it was no different than being an owner. There's a lot of similarities to owning a team and being the commissioner, and that's really why the partners wanted a commissioner who'd owned a team. Is anytime a fire can pop off and you got to put that thing out as quick as you can, or it'll grow to a real big mess. And that's a lot to what we do with on a day-to-day basis is just make sure that everybody is getting things done and doing it the right way. And when you do have a problem pop off, you better put that thing out pretty quick.
That's a very good point. On that note, there has been a lot of talk about the instance that happened in Phoenix last year with some Massachusetts players ending up in the crowd with some Rattler fans. And the response, I guess, from your situation is, hey, this is a big fire. We need to suspend some people indefinitely for now until further review. Is that kind of what the usual approach to something like that is?
It is. You evaluate the situation the best that you can. You gather as much information. That scenario, we had multiple camera angles because it was in Phoenix, and we got the security cameras, and, you get the reports from the officials. And obviously, we were all watching the game, and you gather the information and you make a decision quickly. And because that is the fire, the quicker you make the decision, you can put this thing out. And then, you let the dust settle and figure out what the right thing to do is, because, it's never too late to do the right thing. And, so when you suspend somebody indefinitely, sometimes it is, indefinite. And sometimes, they make an appeal and they have a good story and a good reason. And there's never a good reason to go into the crowd. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But, it was a great example of a fire that popped off quickly, and you better do something about it.
In those situations where you do need to act quickly, being a commissioner, do you find yourself getting a lot of hate mail?
Isolated incidences, sure.
Okay.
But Arizona's got a pretty rambunctious crowd, and it seems like them in Massachusetts. I mean, I'm sitting there doing the schedule as we speak, so this was a good break from putting the schedule together. But I try to make sure Massachusetts goes to Arizona because it's always fireworks and it's great for TV, and the fans they love it, and there's some other teams where you'll hear from kind of the usual suspects, but for the most part, it's been pretty good.
So on the business side of things, that's the football side. On the business side of things, where you're coming from, the last couple of years, there've been some I'll just say they're blockbuster partnerships with the XFL, with CBS Sports Network. You've even brought gambling into it for like an alternative revenue source. What's the next big thing you're working on, and are you allowed to talk about that?
The biggest thing when I took this over, I come from the gym business, okay, and so I work on getting memberships every day, and the easiest way to grow a business is to take care of the members you already have. And I think that's the one thing that you've seen with our league is, we've been able to keep our current members. So it's not a revolving door, and that's the best and easiest way to grow. And so you stabilize, and then you start attracting better people, and then your standards raise, and that's why the league is growing. And from the business standpoint, it's no different. We did create some pretty big partnerships here over the last few years, and the biggest thing is you got to continue to develop those relationships, grow that relationship. The XFL right now, they're in the middle of a potential merger with the USFL, so trying to make sure you stay in the front of the line. So when the merger happens, the relationship is still there. The betting, I mean, I was on a call here this morning with our partner Simple Bet on the fantasy football side of things. So we're looking to evolve the fantasy football side, the CBS Sports. I mean, I was on with them last week. They obviously want, right now our partnership with them is we can have as many games on CBS as we choose, and at minimum the national championship game. Now, when we put a game on CBS, we're in charge of production. So there's an expense to that, and making sure that we get the right production crew there. And so just working through some logistics as we work through the schedule to see what makes sense financially with that. And so yeah, I mean, we're always working on some licensing deals right now with some different uniform companies and your helmet companies, and just trying to continue to get things uniformed. We're in the middle of a potential website overhaul, just to give us another new look. And so every day, a lot like you reach out to somebody, hope you can get them on the line and hoping to have a conversation, and we'll see where it goes.
Did you take up juggling as a young age? Because you seem to be pretty good at it.
I was never a juggler, but I was always a hustler. I was always, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And, and once again, in this industry that you got to stay ahead of the game. There's competition out there they want what you have, and you've got to put yourself in a position where they can't get it.
Moving on to the dollar loan IFL championship contract. My understanding is it concludes in 24. Will the IFL continue to do neutral site championships in the future?
We did. It was a risk on our end to go to a venue, and it's a beautiful venue, and it was a great partnership with the Dollar Loan Center to get us there, and the thing behind going there, which the negative is from an attendance standpoint, you have to have the right matchups for it to really pop off for you. And, the last couple of years, I mean, our matchups were smaller market teams making it, which is great for them. And they brought some fan base, but, not as big as what we want. That's probably the negative is the attendance piece of it. The positive is this last championship weekend, we did 5 events. We're able to pull off 5 events in a 3-day period. And you can't plan for that if you're going to host it at the number 1 seed. All you can really plan for is the game. You can't do your big combine, and you can't do, we had a major media day, and our night of champions where, we honored our Hall of Fame, and, we had our owners meetings, and obviously the game. You can't pull all that off if you've only got a week or 2 notice. And so we will continue to evolve our championship weekend. And the only way you can evolve it is if it's at a neutral site, because I mean, we were already on a planning call today for our 24 championship game.
Yeah, that sounds like there's a lot of logistics that go into it. And if you only have a week or so to prepare, can't happen. So that makes good sense. Are you currently in negotiations with other potential neutral sites for the future?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So moving on to 24, you got a couple new toys to play with this season. There's a team nobody's ever heard of, the Jacksonville Sharks.
Nope.
That's fun. And then the San Antonio Gunslingers are coming to play. Can you talk just a little bit about, number one, how much it means to you to get these two teams, and number two, how they will help the indoor football league grow?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were our top two targets in this offseason. We felt they were the two best ownership groups. Once again, when you sit here and you're juggling a league full of 16 teams, to really service them and serve them, you can't serve a bunch of new teams. And so really excited. Jacksonville comes over. They've got an experienced front office staff. I mean, they've been doing this as long as anybody. They draw a great crowd. They're a great brand. So it's almost like, we brought on an unbelievable organization, and it's really not going to cost us much work. I mean, that's picture perfect. And even down in San Antonio, I mean, most people don't know the Rackler family down there, but had a chance to go down there when we had our press conference, and he lives on a 300-acre out. It was unbelievable. I mean, I was shocked at what he has built down there and what he's given back to the community. And that's the right type of ownership that you want to be with. And once again, they already have a full infrastructure in play. It's, that they're kind of a new team, but, with their HVAC business and their plumbing business, they have most of the tools already in place from a personnel and infrastructure standpoint. And so it's another kind of plug and play franchise that doesn't cost us too much time to serve them. And so it just allows us to continue to work in other areas, because you brought on a couple self-sufficient, works in our demographic. It's going to help expand our brand, and great additions.
I'm excited to see them try and make the switch to indoor football style of play. That's something that intrigues me going forward for sure.
I'll tell you, I think their transition will be, you look at Arizona Rattlers when they came in, and Coach Kevin Guy, first year in the league, had to switch from arena ball style into indoor ball style. And he struggled the first 3 weeks, but he's a good enough coach. He figured it out. And by the end of the year, he won the championship. And, both Jacksonville, I mean, Coach Manaz, he's got the right pieces surrounding him. And Coach Gibson, he's a winner. I mean, these guys are going to figure it out. And that, when you add competition, add new teams, you want competition at the top, not at the bottom. And that's what both these organizations will do.
I love both those guys, and they'll definitely bring their A game for sure. That's awesome. So last year, you tried something new. I personally enjoyed this very much. IFL Live by BEK Sports. I loved that tremendously. As when I was watching it on YouTube, which you had it showing on other platforms besides YouTube, so I don't know what the overall viewership was, but the viewership on YouTube was fairly low. But I thought it was sensational. And I'm just wondering, do you plan to bring IFL Live back for 24?
We do. As we sit here and put the schedule back together and continue to talk to, I mean, that costs us some pretty good money to put that out there. BEK Sports, they're a partner up there in Bismarck, do an unbelievable job. Their team went dormant as they worked through some work comp issues and some venue issues. But, their way to continue to contribute to our league was to put this on. And, Derek up there and Heidi and Greg that did an unbelievable job. Each week we feel like it got better. What you saw at the beginning was not the same at the end. And even this next year, as you look at it, I mean, we're trying to continue to make things better. But yeah, as we look at the schedule, I mean, we're kind of playing around with some different things on how we're going to launch it and how we're going to utilize it. But, right now we have every intention of bringing that back. And yeah, the viewership was low. We didn't promote it probably the best that we can. And we got to continue to grow our national audience. Because that's really who's going to tune into it. Because if you're a diehard Sioux Falls Storm fan, you're most likely going to tune into the Sioux Falls Storm game as opposed to the live. And we got to figure out how to get people to tune into both at the same time, and grow the national audience. We believe that the betting and the gaming side will that's going to reach a different type of audience. But now it's a matter of how do we get them to know that they can tune into this?
Well, see, that's some bittersweet news. It's sweet because IFL Live is awesome, and I think they did a sensational job. But the bitter is, does that mean we will not be seeing the return of the Bismarck Bucks in 24?
We'll be making an announcement here when we release our schedule. And that's kind of where we're timing a couple things up. We got a really sweet announcement coming next Tuesday. I think we'll surprise some people. Okay. And when we release the schedule, we got a couple other announcements. We actually have two announcements on Tuesday, but one of them I mean, I think it'll surprise some people.
Well, I've got a mark Tuesday now. Okay. Okay. Well, this one's kind of an out and left field question. It's actually a question that is, they say if you hear a rumor, go to the horse's mouth, get it from the horse's mouth. The Spokane Shock, are they talking to you at all about coming back? And is that something the IFL is considering?
I've had no conversation with the Spokane Shock.
All right.
We're always looking for good ownership groups that fit our demographic, fit where we're trying to grow. I've got great relationships with the arena, and they've got somebody who knows how to operate the team. Those are really the four things that we're looking for, and so I'd never say no to. I mean, Spokane was a great market. At one time was a great franchise, but it takes great ownership to do what we're trying to do. And if we have great ownership who steps forward and wants to apply to our league, absolutely, I'd love to have the conversation.
Well, there you go, folks. They're quelling the rumors. Okay, now here's another big one. Will the Columbus Wilddogs ever play in the Indoor Football League?
I'd never say never. I'll confidently say it's not 24.
Okay.
Columbus is a unique market. Once again, I say the qualifications we look for is great ownership group, which we have, demographically, which we have, operationally, not necessarily, but the holdup there is the arena. It is, I would argue, the most expensive arena in the United States to be able to, have a team in. And our blueprint, the reason that we're growing the way we're growing, attracting what we're attracting, is because our blueprint financially works, but it does not financially work with an arena lease like that. And so if we can get the arena lease to where it's more competitive to fit, more towards our blueprint, I'd never say never.
See, this is good information. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because there's been a lot of speculation among the fans that they just keep teasing and they don't have any intention of ever seeing the field. But it has to make fiscal sense. It absolutely has to make fiscal sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, the Louisville Extreme had a lease of 30,000+ a game on the KFC Yum Center. Is that the case?
I would say that you're probably pretty accurate.
Okay.
And if the Columbus lease was even close to that, they'd have launched by now. So it's not even in the ballpark, and which is disappointing. And that's why you don't see a team in Columbus and in any league, because the arena isn't there.
Totally understand. Awesome. And speaking of arenas, the Mass Pirates no longer are at the DCU Center. Can we be expecting an announcement from them anytime soon as relocation?
Tuesday, 3:45. It's being announced.
Oh, so they're doing a Tuesday announcement as well. Is it?
They are, yeah.
Joint with the IFL, or
no?
Okay,
they have their own press conference. Great news, big news. Excited for the Yatim family. I mean, Jawad works his butt off up there, and just couldn't find the backing up there in Worcester, and he got frustrated enough, and I think his location is going to work out well for him. It's going to be great for the league. There's going to be a lot of positives to it, and I'm excited for the future of that franchise.
I've just got a couple more questions for you. Then I'll let you get back to scheduling. That sounds like an important part of your job. So in 24, it's an election year, and in 2020, during an election year, and I don't want to sound like big conspiracy theorist here or anything, but there are a lot of people that think that there was a deliberate effort by the powers that be to keep people in their homes so they wouldn't show up to the ballot box, so they do mail-in ballots. And the result, of course, in 2020 was the COVID reaction and no season. The 24 being an election year, is there alternative revenue sources for the IFL and the member teams to where if attendance ended up going low, really, really low this year, that you could keep teams afloat?
Boy, that's a tough one to answer. Because when you had COVID hit, I mean, we were in talks. I mean, there were so many different scenarios going on, and information was changing by the day. And to answer your question, we have strong enough ownership groups that if attendance drops, they're strong enough where they can, survive it. From a league perspective, as I say, I don't know what the scenario might be if for some reason people are back in their homes, but we're able to still compete. I would assume the gaming piece might tick up just because people are sitting at home and not going anywhere. But I don't know. I mean, you can never prepare for what we went through.
Oh, yeah.
That was a disaster for everybody. Everybody.
Yeah. God forbid that should ever happen. Just a lot of speculation. 24 could be interesting. That I'm not saying that will happen at all. I would actually love to see people just pack these arenas. And I was very encouraged by Tulsa's attendance, being an expansion team, and Tulsa doing a great job. Tons of people coming out to the box center there. It was a rocking place, and I hope it only increases this next year.
Ducon, that's kind of a model that is rising. Is Andy Skirto and Taylor Hall there? They own the ECHL hockey team, and so once again they have the entire infrastructure in place to just tag on the football side. They've already got the relationships with your sponsors and ticket holders and your housing agreements and your food agreements and all the things that it takes to run a football team. They've already got it. And so their expenses are much less to operate the team because they're already incurring the expenses through their hockey. And, Tulsa's a football city, and they love their football, and they did a great job of promotions on getting people there. And, I expect it to only grow this year.
That's awesome. I know I get text messages from them about offers. So they do a really, really good job with that. You mentioned recently that you had a goal within the next 3 years to hit 24 teams for the IFL. How comfortable do you feel that you will be able to hit that goal?
Pretty good. We could have hit it this year if we weren't as picky and choosy as what we are.
Sure.
I mean, we had a lot of people knocking at our door, and to be honest, they don't hit our standard. I mean, we stabilized a few years ago and upped the standard and brought on Vegas and so upped our standard and brought on Tulsa and upped our standard and brought on, each quality ownership group you bring in, you can up the standard. Quality attracts quality. And that's what we're seeing. And we've already got a couple announcements set for 25 that you guys are going to be hearing soon. And I expect 25 class to grow. And so we're not far off. If we can get 4 in the class of 25 and 4 in the class of 26 and you take care of who you got, you're already there. And so I absolutely believe we're going to hit it. And it's because we got some really strong ownership groups.
Absolutely ecstatic about the ownership groups that you've got. It seems like everybody works together pretty good. Of course, we don't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, but there's not a lot of drama that even fake journalists like myself get to throw out there.
We do a pretty good job of keeping our problems in the house.
That's great. So there's this new league that's popping up. You may have heard of it, the Arena Football League. Does this new AFL hinder your goal of getting to 24 teams in any way?
I would say that they are definitely causing a disruption. When you look at the makeup of their teams right now, as I say, we had a lot of teams apply to us that wasn't even close to hitting our standard. And we see them popping up in these other leagues. And so we've been around the block long enough to know that, you can't build it that way. And so, my fear is the national audience doesn't know the difference between leagues. And so when one league fails, when one league struggles, it affects all of us. And, that's probably my biggest concern is someone coming in here, disrupting our industry and leaving big fires behind for, us to clean up. And so that's probably my bigger concern.
You make a really, really good point here, Todd, because I'm a huge advocate for the game. I've had a lot of people ask me, why don't you sign a deal with somebody? Why don't you just stick to one league? It's because I love the game. That's what I'm in love with. And so when you bring this up, and I'm not trying to point at the AFL or any particular league in this, but if there are leagues out there that are lowering the standard and potentially will cause a dumpster fire. Should people like I and other people that are covering the sport speak up and say, hey, there's a lot of red flags here, guys. Let's not give these guys too much credence, or let's put them in a position where they will feel pressured to up their own standard so they're not dragging the whole industry down with them.
Yeah. I mean, do what you say you're going to do. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And, you know, we had a situation up in Albany this last year that I can't tell you how many people reached out to me saying, hey, is that your league? I'm like, no, they're not in our league. And so once again, anytime you have trouble in these areas, it affects all of us. And, you know, that's what, and you can't control it. I mean, that's what's tough is you get new people coming in here and I don't know where the money's coming from, but it looks like they got a little bit of it. But they got no idea what they're doing.
Right.
And, you know, that is going to cause trouble.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I've got one more question for you, and then I'll let you get back to scheduling. I'm excited about that part, so I don't want to hold you up too much. Okay. If you can choose how long you stay on as the commissioner of the IFL, how long would you want to do this job?
Good question. You know, it's like I've had a lot of chapters of my life. I was, you know, I played for 5, I coached for 4, I owned a large gym business, built that into 10 locations, lasted on that for 10 years. I built a huge supplement company, lasted on that for about 15 years. I'm going into year 5, still having fun. We're still growing. You know, it's like, it's always the challenge is once you get to where your goal is, you know, now what? And so once we get to 2014, the goal's 24, quality 24, legit 24, national sponsors, you know, on major TV with gambling. I mean, that's the goal. And we're trending and building towards that. Once we get there, now what? You know, is it still fun? You still enjoying what you're doing? You know, my kids at that point right now, I've got 3 kids. They're freshman, sophomore, and senior. And, you know, so they're all in high school and you know, I don't know. You know, my goal right now, I see 3 years, and I'm pretty committed for the next 3 years. And who knows? It's hard telling after that.
That sounds like a good, honest answer. I'm excited that you want to spend time with your kids and all that good stuff. So I actually just got to say something. I'm going to throw this out there for everybody. I started following the IFL, I think it was 5 years ago. I was a fan of the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. And when it folded, there was a hole in my heart. And I went online looking for some football, and I came across an IFL game. It was a clash between the Iowa Barnstormers and Cedar Rapids River Kings. And I didn't know the Barnstormers still existed. And man, I fell in love with this league right off the bat. And I've watched it really, really closely these last 5 years. And I've got to say, you've done an absolutely amazing job as commissioner. The way that I've seen it grow and stabilize has been absolutely just scrumptious, for lack of a better expression. So well done, Mr. Todd Tryon. You're doing a phenomenal job. I wish you and the IFL and all of your partners the greatest of success in the 24 season. And like always, I'm going to be watching very closely. I can't wait to see some good football action. Thank you so much for joining me, Todd.
Well, Dukan, I appreciate all you do for the industry once again. Appreciate the kind words. You know, we can't succeed in anything we do unless we surround ourselves with good people. You know, sometimes we get to take the credit, but, you know, it takes good people to get you where you're trying to go. But appreciate all you do.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the commissioner of the Indoor Football League, Todd Tryon. Wish you well.
Thank you. You betcha.